Hello, and welcome back to Password. I've already forgotten what happened in the previous scene, so let's just. Leading the way upstairs, Haas took us into the conservatory and ushered me inside. Once I was in the middle of the room, he closed the door behind us and wandered over to the window past me. Come sit over here. You'll get a nice view outside from up here. Carefully, I did so, sitting next to him near the windowsill, and looked out over the forest. It was just a sea of green leaves, while the same thing I had been staring at from the back door. It didn't look nearly as menacing. How's it look compared to downstairs? I'm still a little unsure. Could be the height, though. As in it helps or makes things worse? Different, maybe. Just different. Well, given how high up we are, there's no way you're in danger from anything down there. You'll have ample time to react if you see anything happen, good or bad. I nod slowly, taking solace in that from this vantage point I could see more and it did feel a little safer than downstairs. Granted, I didn't know if that was because I had tricked myself into thinking that way or not. So? How are you after last night? I'm doing okay. I slept, had a dream, but I'm still mostly just lost, I think. Recovering, but it's still just a big mess, if that makes sense. Right. At least it wasn't a nightmare. I don't really know what to expect moving forward. Is this just going to be a thing I have to get used to now? Maybe. For the next little bit, if it gets really bad, we can consider looking into maybe getting you a therapist for it. Maybe medicine if you need it. Is that smart, though? It's all in my head, so... Haas bumped me lightly on the nose, making me squeak. As I shot him a look while checking if my nose was okay, he shot me one back. Just because it's in your head doesn't make it less real. A whole bunch of stuff can happen in your head, and only your head too. Doesn't make it any less of a thing. You should consider treating it if you can. I don't know. It just makes me feel silly. I came away with barely a graze and maybe a little bit of shredded fur, so I should just be thankful, right? That makes it sound like you're not thankful for being alive. I am, I think. Thankful, I mean. But it just feels like I have no right to be upset or scared that something almost happened. Why won't you have any right to feel that way? Why wouldn't you have any right to feel that way? Seems reasonable to me. Because, to me, it almost feels like Christmas. You get excited for the days leading up to it because it's something you know is going to happen, or better yet, going to the dentist. You don't like the dentist? No, I mean, I do. The dentist is fine, but I know some people don't like the dentist because of potentially needing to get stuff done to their teeth, and it can hurt and stuff. So how is what happened to you any different? I don't think I really understand. It's all because it just didn't happen, right? If you're excited about winning the lottery, then don't you are just disappointed? Okay. If you're excited for Christmas, you're happy because you got what you wanted. With a sigh, I looked back at the window to the world beyond, my voice quieter when I spoke again. But with what happened, it was just fear replaced with fear again, like I'm still going through the moment. Right. I think I get it. Really? Well, when you disappeared into the forest, a lot happened. A lot of us were upset, confused and worried about what might have happened. You knew where I went. How? Not right away. We searched the whole house until there was only one place left you could have gone. Dean was frustrated that you'd have done that and was ready to head on in. But that was around the time it was getting dark. That was when Benson showed up, or the gunshot. Yeah, Haas was in a daze for a few moments before shaking his head. Right. After he'd been scared off and you weren't, you were brought inside, I think a good number of us were relieved that you were back more than anything else that was going on, at least immediately. Now that I think about it, where were you? Cowering in the side room under a desk. I turned away from the window, confused. Something wasn't adding up, and I gave him a look to hint I wasn't completely sold on what he'd claimed. It's not a lie. I went to the side room and only came out after the arguing started about you being drugged or into unconsciousness. But why were you cowering? Did you see who? No. Only got the details afterward from Dean and Benson as to what they'd seen chasing you. Then what scared you? The gunshot. Because it was loud? With a sigh, Haas shook his head. It was his turn to look out the window. Because I thought I was at my old school. Seeing stuff happen on TV, or anime or games, it's all fiction, so it's fine. But hearing a gunshot going off... What about when you and Tyson were searching for the gun? Did you... No, that was fine too. I can look at guns now, but it's the sound that sets me off. I don't understand. It's kind of why I brought you up here. If you're scared of something, maybe it's better just learn more about it, or be exposed to it more in a safe environment until you're less scared. That hasn't really been working for Orlando, given how much of a rise Roswell gets out of him with ghosts and stuff. Roswell's hardly doing a good job of trying to get him desensitized, though. I guess that's fair. I'm a little surprised the same sort of thing didn't happen with you, given how Dad died? Right. I'm sorry. I don't know what's okay to bring up and what isn't. Watching you break down and cry like that was scary in its own way. I'll be okay. Maybe talking about it more will help with that desensitized thing that helped you. Well, all right. Given how it happened, I'm just surprised you haven't also developed some sort of adverse to guns. I sorta do, maybe. I haven't been able to go to laser tag because the thought of holding something gun-shaped freaks me out, or like when I was stressing out about how Benson died. Well, thanks to you he didn't, if I understand what sort of intervention we had on that. Right, well, just thinking about what could have happened felt sort of surreal. What if Benson ended up like Dad? Would I have potentially seen it if I didn't say anything? What about the blood? Listen, whatever could have happened didn't happen to you, or at least it's nice to think things ended up that way because of you. Haas, I gotta ask, what really made you move out there? Huh? Where's this coming from? I'm sorry. It's just you moved out here because your parents didn't approve of your the bisexual thing, or was it the acting thing? It's kind of both, sort of. I'm confident in my mom and dad that I had an... I confided in my mom and dad that I had an interest in other guys and girls, and they didn't go over very great. What happened? Mom seemed fine with it, but Dad seemed to feel strongly about it. He didn't say anything outside of saying that he'd hoped I'd settle for a nice girl instead, but that's just the start of things going wrong. Wrong how? Next was the acting gig. It seemed neat, but if I wanted to audition, I'd need to head over to the other side of the country. Failing that, I figured I could see if I could intern as a techie or do backstage work. That also doesn't sound so bad. I mean, it's sucky, but sure. The same week, the school had an intruder with a gun. Oh, how, and... I could tell Haas was getting a little misty-eyed thinking about it, and took one of his hands, giving it a reassuring squeeze. They caught the guy, so I'm not left wondering if I'll run into them again. But I still remember the sound. I still remember the yelling to get under the desks, the sound of gunshots echoing in the hallways, and then the deadly silence that came after while everyone in the classrooms just waited. He gasped out a breath before locking his jaw, baring his teeth and quickly shaking his head to look at me again. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm safe. We can change the subject if you want. I don't mind, really. A bit too late for that, Dave. But this too helps, kinda. Talking about it, facing it rather than just ignoring it and hoping I don't run into it again. Is that why you're a year older than me? Because you needed a break? Pretty much. Mom was worried for me, and after the counseling wasn't working as well as we hoped, she helped me move away just to try and recover. Gave me an excuse to try that acting job, too. But then it fell through. It did. But that's not so bad. It meant that eventually I could re-enroll for school to finish my final year, and if I never did that, we'd never have met. Which I'm glad we did. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mentioned that I had a dream last night, and you were in it. Nothing overly interesting happened, just, I don't know. It made me think about how things were since you arrived. And were things good? They were great, even if Orlando didn't like the dancing. What kind of dream was this anyway? Were the others even around? Oh no, just us. I shuffled closer. With my hands in his, I held on tight and urged him closer still. The scent of his mane still made my nose twitch in the nicest of ways, despite the smell not being overpowering today. Although, it ended before we kissed. Dreaming about things in particular? Didn't think you enjoyed it that much. I did, I think. Lacing his fingers through mine, we inched closer together before he dipped up at the moment and kissed my forehead. Huh? But I thought... If you're lucky, I'll kiss you again. But I think there's someone else you should be kissing first. Oh, you're talking about Dean, right? I'm saying that if you two are dating, either get his permission or make it clear that you're not dating him at first. If you ever have that talk, well, just let me know. I whined, embarrassed, but he held me close to him for a bit as I looked out the window. There was something else, too. What's that? It wasn't fair that everyone except you knew about the dad thing. It's fine, really. I know now, and that's all that matters. But we're friends, and I guess hiding something that impactful shouldn't be so important. It was important to you for whatever reason you had, and reasons those are isn't any of my business either, but I guess I'm just curious as to how things are going to be now. Because I finally shared that? You might not have noticed, but just over breakfast I noticed there's this spark in your eyes now. Maybe it was there before I got to know you, but it's there now. Are you saying my eyes are pretty? I'm saying you've got me curious about the person you're going to become now. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm a little excited to see how that affects the others too. Hopefully in a good way. Almost certainly in a good way. You made Tyson cry after you passed out. Even never thought I'd see him smile so happily, given he has resting bitch face. He's a dog, so, you know. Don't let him hear that. Don't let him hear you say that. I'm his brother. I'm allowed to be a brat.
I guess that's true.
We stayed like that for another minute before Haas stretched out, rubbing my shoulder. How are you feeling about that movie? Maybe. It's not as if I have anything better to do.
Don't be like that.
It's like if you were there. I'm sure Tyson and Sal wouldn't mind either. Oh yeah, I think I'd like that if it was just the four of us. The moment you started adding more people, though, I don't know if if I'm just gonna feel odd.
Don't worry. Well, one step at a time.
Another minute of us just looking out the window passed by before. Haas got up, and together we headed on over to the rec room to see how the others were doing.
The other one. The one with the space bunny. The fuck is that one?
As we entered, it seemed like Sal and Tyson were talking about something, both lounging around in beanbags, while seemingly waiting for the movie to be put on. Hey guys.
Oh. Hey Dave. You here for the movie?
Hold up. What were you two talking about?
Anime.
Great. That's gonna set him off. Why, Sal? I didn't know you were that interested in it to bring it up without me.
Tyson did. Was asking me, about what I liked and if I had recommendations.
Why didn't you ask me, Ty? We have some at the house.
Dunno.
So I guess I should ask, is it anime we're watching, or?
Yes. No. Take a seat, Dave. We can wait for them to burn themselves out before we decide on anything.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that a scene in, Tyson's Route where we do that? Okay. Stabbed downstairs. Heroism. Benson, shot in the dining room. Betrayal. Dean or something was going on. Sal had an axe and he was covered in blood. Yeah, that's fine. I should probably listen to my own videos, I guess, because I kind of forgot a lot of these scenes. He tensed up, but stayed quiet. Waiting a few moments, I took my chance to ask a question when he didn't respond with anything else. Osmond sighed, scratching his chin.
That rat is fickle on the best of days. It'd be something to consider. But I don't think it'd be best to bring him out of the lab just yet.
Why not? He's just a rat.
That's only half true. For the time being, I feel that it's best that he's kept in the dark from your friends, lest he incites panic by spilling more information than what was already ready for.
Like how the Vault works on DNA?
Among other things.
What other things?
I'm allowed to have my secrets. Besides, one thing at a time, Dave. Trust that that if anything were to be immediately irrelevant to us, to keeping us alive, I'd let you know.
Why were they shirtless? I don't remember. Haas? He was sitting on the edge of his bed with his phone, staring at it as if wanting something to happen. Yeah? I need you to tell me it's not my fault. I need to hear that I didn't doom us all by bringing... I collapsed on the ground near the door, whining, clutching my chest. Haas wandered over and gently closed the door behind me and flicked off the lights before helping me to my feet.
Hey, you're okay. You're all right. Of course this isn't your fault.
But how were we meant to get home?
We'll find a way, but you're staying in here with me tonight.
I am? You came into my room, you tell me. I'm also assuming that's why you're here after all. Okay, if that's okay, I just didn't feel like I wanted to be in my room by myself, not tonight. And gently he guided me by my hand over to the bed, letting go so I could climb under the covers with him right behind me. Thanks, Haas. I should be all right now, although my mind is still racing as to what's going to be happening in the morning.
Like a bad Christmas?
Something like that, yeah. Bracing himself on his elbows, he rolled over so he was hovering over me, his face inches away from mine.
Maybe this will keep your mind off things.
It started off slow and gentle, but he parted my lips with his before deepening the kiss by cradling my cheeks with his hand. I whispered and whimpered in his mouth, and whined, yeah. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because it was something deep down triggering in me because he was a lion. Or maybe it was just because it was something I needed in the moment. His whiskers tickled my nose. The way he rumbled as he moved to be able to rub my chest, hunched over me. Finally, when he finally broke away, I was out of breath, but my mind was clear of the worry that had filled it before.
Better?
His voice was quiet in the dark, and as I nodded, he nuzzled me gently before taking up the spot behind me in the bed, rolling me over to make me the little spoon. Thank you, Haas.
Don't worry about it, Dave. Sweet dreams.
Sighing out, I rested back against him, and sure enough, I was out like a light soon after. Okay. I sat up and looked over to Haas, who was curled up with his back facing me. It seemed at some point during the night we shifted away from one another. It was bad that the first thought I had looking at him was how much I wanted to kiss him again. I couldn't have been the taste of him on my tongue, or just how I felt after after that left me wanting more. But even beyond that, he'd been honest and open with me, and even about not being honest, and that felt special to me somehow. It made me feel trusted. As funny as it was to me that Haas and Ty had started becoming friends, what I felt for Haas was kind of similar to what I had with Tyson, but different. A good different, I think. Rolling out of bed, I put on some clothes. I needed to clear my head if I was going to have any chance of getting back to sleep. Carefully, I wandered downstairs with my hands in my pocket. Let's skip. Hanging out with Benson and Oswin. Oh, whoops. Don't want my, the mouse to slide away. Oh, okay. My eyes went to Tyson, wondering where he'd go. It seemed Haas knew where my mind was at near immediately, scratching his chin. Although, not all of us have a partner, so someone's going to need to group up as a three at the very least. You and Dean don't mind Tyson tagging along, right, Roswell? I guess that's fine. Looking across to Tyson, his attention was already on Dean, the pair of them nodding to one another. All right, cool. Why not buddy up with me and Haas so that I can still be with Tyson? No, that sounds like a great idea. I followed close behind Haas, lingering only a couple steps behind, unsure of what to say. It seemed as though he had an idea of where he wanted to go, and wordlessly, I followed him upstairs. Haas, can we talk? I was already closing the door behind me for the privacy when I noticed he was going to the bookshelf, opening the passage to the library. He seemed to just watch me, quirking an eyebrow as if waiting for me to do or say something. So, I approached carefully, fiddling with my fingers as I stopped before him. I glanced down the passage he opened up. Those medals, right?
Figured we have a look in the library. After all, don't think anyone's given that place a proper look, right?
I guess not, no. But separate to that, I wanted to ask something.
Sure, what's up?
Do you like me?
What? Of course I like you.
No, I mean more than just a friend. Yesterday, and last night, I'm not sure where we stand.
I don't understand. Did something happen?
You kissed me last night. You kissed me after you said you wouldn't, until, after I'd spoken to Dean or whatever.
And did you?
If I did, I hadn't told you yet. He sighed out, running his hands through his mane.
It's complicated.
Complicated how? I bet I could understand if you tried explaining it.
You sure about that?
Of all the things that have happened so far, why does this have to be the thing that becomes the exception? We talked yesterday and just, I don't know. I liked what happened. I've been thinking about you a lot, and it's just confusing.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't have kissed you before bed.
But why did you? Don't get me wrong, it was what I needed, and it calmed me down, so it couldn't have been a bad thing, right?
That's just it. You knew what you wanted, or needed, or maybe both. I understood that, and I did what I assumed was the right call.
And that's really all it was? I wanted a kiss, and you just figured you'd help me out as a friend?
No kidding about being a brat, although I figured that was exclusive to Tyson.
He threw his hands up, groaning.
Fine. There was more to it, but I don't want to be known as the guy that messed our friendship circle up by trying to weasel it onto someone else's prospective date.
Is that what they call a bro code?
It's what they call being a decent person. Hell, I hadn't even talked to Dean about pursuing you yet.
What he said made me do a double take. Yet? So, you were planning to?
Look, I know the others have a hard time understanding that understanding that pushing you towards Dean may not be necessarily be a good thing. Who's to say someone else doesn't partially want a shot? What about your feelings?
But trailing off, I wasn't sure what to say. Sure, Orlando had encouraged it a whole bunch, but how often did it come up with the others?
So, when I say I like you, yeah, I like you enough that I want to date you.
I must have had a stupid grin on my face from how he started looking at me.
What's that look for?
It's just nice to hear, especially because, I felt like we've been getting closer.
Then I'm glad. But think about it more for me. If that's what you decide, then then you're going to have to let Dean know, so he can be let down easily, as opposed to being a big mess. All right?
Sure, but I'm sorry for asking this. You're not lying, right?
No. Why would I lie about that?
Why would you lie about a lot of things that you do? I just don't want to be let down.
My track record isn't great, I know, but if you want to believe me this time, I promise it's the truth.
Okay. We stood staring at one another for a bit, neither of us saying a word, assuming the other would talk first. Sure enough, though, it was him that broke the silence before turning away.
Just think on it. If that's what you decide, get back to me on it, all right?
With that, he disappeared into the dark of the passage. We were meant to stick together, and given he had a point of searching for the medals, I wandered on in too. The library was much like I remembered. remembered it from the other times I was there. Cold, dark, plus the old book smell, although I didn't mind that one, one so much. The dust, though, was another story. I followed Haas down the stairs to where I talked to Oswin, looking across the door he emerged through.
Doing all right?
Yeah, just thinking.
Dave, this whole thing was meant to stop you from overthinking things.
I know, but just thinking about the vault with the door, like it just there, makes it hard.
Fair enough. Maybe try and ignore it. Look around for a medal, maybe.
I was half paying attention, eyes still locked on the door. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. He placed a hand on my shoulders, and I jumped, almost squeaking as he did so.
I mean it. Go over to the bookshelf over there and start looking.
Grumbling, I wander over and look over the books, not really sure what I was looking for.
How will I know?
How will I know what we're looking for? A medal should probably stand out among these books, right?
You're right. It should, but maybe consider this like cleaning your room. Rearrange stuff, see what goes where. Maybe something will turn up.
But my room is tidy already.
Tyson says otherwise.
Yeah, well, his room is worse. At least I make my bed.
And everything else? Making one's bed should be a baseline, Dave.
Should it? Look, I have too much shit on my bed to, like, actually make it every morning. Okay? It's fine. I leave the easel right next to my bed. I usually leave sketchbooks lying on it. I have a nice spot to put my laptop. No, fuck making my bed. I have a lot of stuff is all. Sure, maybe I shove a bunch of it under my bed, but at least you can't see the mess. It's fine, right?
Which kind of makes me wonder how these medals have been hidden, right? You found Taurus under a pumpkin, after all. Why hide it there, of all places?
Maybe they just dropped it when they planted the pumpkin.
An Aquarius in a hedge maze? How would you even lose that? Benson knew where it was, so these things can't just be lost, right?
I guess not. I knew what he was doing, but it was working. Keeping me talking about the medals was drawing my focus away from the door. As much as now thinking about home wasn't much of an improvement. I don't know, Haas. The whole thing just kind of, right?
I really don't.
So, like, Roswell and Benson put together the scavenger hunt as some fun thing for us to do. If Benson knew that some of these were unable to be found just because they were in dumb locations, why bother?
Got me there.
And another thing, why is it important to still be looking for them now when it was just meant to be a game?
Don't want to look for them after all?
That's not it. I just wish I knew why they were so important, beyond, like, getting the vault door open at least. I turned when I heard him chuckling, shaking his head.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they're not important at all. After all, why make a set of something based on the Zodiac?
What else would you make a set out of?
Well, cardinal signs maybe, the 4 elements, 5 depending on where in the world you look, major arcana perhaps.
Sure, but why would you make a set of anything based on those two?
For fun. People like putting things into groups. If the group is already pre-established, then it's all the easier.
What about fruit?
What about fruit? As in a sorting group?
Sure, fruit salad is a bunch of different things in one set, right?
But I don't think fruit salad is all that rigid in its set. After all, you could omit any given fruit in favor of anything another, and it'd still count.
A grimace, turning back to the bookshelf. I grimaced, turning back to the bookshelf. I was looking through, and running my hand over the spines of what books I'd found myself in front of. So the fact their zodiac doesn't matter, it's just a thing they chose to theme them after. Maybe, maybe not. A bunch of people are fascinated by the stars. After all, the expanse of space and whatever. Or maybe they just like knowing what their day is going to be like. I didn't jump on... You didn't jump on me reading the horoscope out to you on the bus, so I guess you're not one of those people. I guess not. I smiled a little, thinking back to when we got here. Thinking back to when this was just a normal vacation, without anything bad happening. We were settling in, and gradually my mind crept forward until things started to go sour. Haas had his hand on my shoulder while I was staring at the floor. I had no idea how long I'd been zoning out, but he just waited until I came back to reality. What's wrong? Just thinking. This house and everything that's gone on so far has just... I couldn't take it. I couldn't put it into words, but I looked back at Haas with a slight frown. You probably know this house better than any of us, right? Because of that thing?
Clearwater, yeah.
With a sigh, he leans back against the bookshelf, stuck his hands in his pockets.
If I'd known the thing I did now back then, well, things would have panned out differently, I think.
Like what?
Well, I didn't know that Benson wasn't the owner, at least. When we were there to shoot, he was just in normal clothes, no vest or anything. Wouldn't have picked him as the butler.
I gave him a worried look, immediately wondering how Oswin was then.
To be fair, I wasn't really thinking about any of that stuff. On the back of moving away and landing the gig, I was relaxed and happy for the first time in a long time. Why would I ask questions?
But then it all went south?
Right. Me and the other guys on set, well, we were the first ones to show up for the actual cast anyway. He and I were checking the place out. We both seemed stoked, and we'd get to be on the big screen, or even just TV.
What happened to him?
No idea. Much like me, he was disappointed that when the whole thing got called off. Not sure if I told you or not, but he might have been one of Dean's cousins, maybe.
What makes you say that?
Fairly large black bear, a few years older than me, too. Hell, could have been Dean if I hadn't heard about what Dean was like.
Are all black bears related? I shoot him a cheeky grin, poking my tongue out.
Fine, call me a racist.
But there was some sort of family resemblance, I swear. Way to check would be to see if Dean has a relative named Dominic. But if the answer is no, then we're golden, right? He likes talking about a family a bunch, but nothing about a relative, maybe being on TV ever came up.
Then maybe that's a sign.
But still, Benson owning the place, really?
Would I lie to you about that?
Yes. The words were out of my mouth before I realized what I'd said, and I clamped my hand over my muzzle, ears drooping soon after. Sorry.
No, I get it. But when I arrived here, the first time, I mean, no butler. Hell, no Oswin either. Trust me, I would have asked Roswell about his relative a bit harder, had I known if the guy had owned the place was a bore.
I nodded slowly, turning back to the bookcase. And then in all of that, you found the library?
Well, you know all that already.
Yeah. For the next little bit, we continued to shift through books, working through the shelves until eventually I stopped when Haas sighed out.
You know, after all this is over, I don't know what I'll end up doing. It's kind of put a damper on things.
In what way?
Well, I know I'm gonna feel better. Maybe, avoid, mountains for a while. Maybe spend some time in the city before all that. Though it depends on, how bad things get. Go seek out a therapist.
Do you think I should do the same?
Honestly, you would have benefited from one a long time ago, so yes. Not only do I think you should do the same, I'll absolutely go with you as support if you're not sure.
It's that good, huh?
There's a reason there's a whole medical field about it after all. If you're curious, maybe one of the books will have something you can read to inform yourself.
I guess it couldn't hurt to look. It was getting close to lunch, but I found a book and tried reading it in the dark. Not that I could get very far with how much I was straining my eyes. Instead, I used it as a pillow and stared at the vault door off to the side, scowling at it as if wanting it to move. I could have been like that for an hour, if not more, just zoned out in my own thoughts.
Dave?
Yeah?
But going all right? Because I found something you might want to see.
It's a good pillow. He wandered around in front of me, quirking a brow.
And what I had in mind, but given the light, no surprise, I don't need light to see this through.
He dangles from a finger of metal, dusty and unmistakably having seen others just like it. It made me sit up quickly, reaching out for it. A medal? There was one here after all? Where?
Honestly, it was just sitting on a shelf, given how dark it was in here. No wonder we hadn't found it sooner.
Is it bad? I'm a little disappointed it was that easy. Which one is it, anyway? Haas turned it over, double-checking before sliding it over to me.
Libra.
Is that good? I mean, it's good that we found another, but does this mean, but does it have any meaning? He ran a hand through his mane, thinking on it.
It's an air sign like Aquarius. Although this place feels very, well, it's not as free as outdoors anyway.
Free? Why free?
Air in Zodiac terms is all about freedom. It's the main thing that distinguishes it from water.
But like, okay, so Tauros is a bull, right? What's Libra?
A set of scales, you know, justice and balance or whatever. It's the sign of harmony, after all.
I pick up the metal and run my thumb over the engraving. 2 lines, but one with a bump in the middle. Nothing that really screams scales to me. But Haas seemed to know what he was talking about.
Go on. You're thinking about something.
Just thinking about what we do now. Should we tell the others? We should, right?
If you want. Could probably go for some lunch first, then, I don't know, more searching after.
Not more anime?
Did you not see how Orlando was when we left breakfast? Chances are he's going to have claim over the TV for video games for most of the day.
So, exercise? I pulled a face, and Haas places a hand on my shoulder.
I'll let you choose. We can work out or keep searching for the medals, but only after we had gotten some food into us.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna end the part here. So, I'll see you around, everyone.